Good morning, everybody. You know what time it is. It is Thursday morning, so we've got ourselves a little bit of pass coverage Thursday coming up. If you guys were watching my videos last year, you pretty much know the drill, so we'll just swing into things shortly here. First, before I get into the numbers, there will be a collab stream with the Hawks Nest tonight on my channel. We're going to preview this Niners game. We're going to try to figure out the advantages we can seek out. We can figure out what to watch for. So if you want to see that, just plan on tuning in about 7 o'clock tonight, and we will deep dive into the Niners matchup. So I know a lot of you guys are enjoying the collabs. We're going to keep them going pretty much all year round almost. So, pass coverage Thursday. It's pretty clear cut what happened out there on the field Monday night. It's pretty stark here. The Broncos were extremely successful when they targeted our linebackers, and they were extremely successful when targeting Kobe Bryant. And other than that, it was good. It was really good actually. So it's not exactly what you would have expected playing against an offense led by Russell Wilson, because throwing to tight ends and running backs was not something he did a lot here. So that was different. That was a little unexpected. But the end result is that you find a way to hold the Broncos to 16 points and win. So you certainly can't be upset about it, right? Like, I think most people would have taken 16 points allowed by your defense. So let's break it down here to get an idea of the carnage. And when it comes to the linebackers, it is carnage. Jordan Brooks beat up in coverage. He got targeted 6 times, 6 completions for 81 yards. Right from the first drive, they targeted him in coverage, and he gave up that. It was a really weird looking play where it looked like he wasn't sure if he was supposed to be dropping back in coverage or not. So he kind of got caught almost in the middle, gave up a long completion, and the beat went on from there. It's not surprising, right? Brooks is not a great cover linebacker. He never will be. He can be better than he is now by some amount, but he's never going to be great at it. He overcomes that with his abilities in other areas. So it's not alarming, but it also is what it is. And Cody Barton actually played a little bit better. He got targeted 7 times, 7 completions as well, so 100%, but only 62 yards. He helped himself tremendously with that huge play on the final drive for the 4-yard loss. So good on Cody. And Darrell Taylor also got targeted once and gave up the 25 yards, I think, on the first drive. So you add it all up, the linebackers were targeted in coverage 14 times and gave up 14 completions for 170, 180 yards. So more than half of Wilson's damage was done against the linebackers. And that's fairly familiar for Seahawks fans. We saw some of this last year. The linebackers, they get picked apart in coverage a little bit. So it's something that hopefully improves as the season goes on, but for this one game we can say they did not. But the good news is, the upshot is, pretty much everything else was good. The only other thing that you can really point to that went wrong in this game in coverage was Kobe Bryant, and it was one play. And my God, it's something he probably should have picked off. It was such a badly thrown ball. It's kind of criminal that play ended up being Wilson's biggest play of the game, because it was such a terribly thrown ball. That's something where if Kobe Bryant's got a little more experience in the NFL, he probably turns around and makes a play on the ball. So that's rookie life in the NFL sometimes, right? It's going to happen. But other than that, man, once you get past Kobe, 1 target, 1 completion, 67 yards and a touchdown, pretty good. Sidney Jones didn't play a lot. He got targeted twice, gave up 1 catch, 17 yards. Tariq Woolen targeted 3 times, gave up 1 completion. ESPN has a stat that said he didn't give up any. PFR disagrees. That's usually what I go with. So I'm going to say he gave up the 1 completion for 18 yards. That's something important to keep in mind in here, by the way. Different websites are going to have different counsel on what was a completion against this guy versus that guy. But either way, 3 targets for 18 yards is really good. Now, The penalties are a thing, no doubt about it. Woolen committed 2 long pass interference penalties, but at the end of the day, if you just take a look at those 3 coverage snaps where he was targeted, he performed very well. Michael Jackson, also very similar. 3 targets, 2 completions, 19 yards. That's about 6 yards a target for your 2 starting outside cornerbacks. Really good. Justin Coleman, obviously he doesn't have a ton left in the tank. He's just kind of here because of injuries. And I didn't like what I saw from him watching the game. But in end summation, 6 targets, 4 completions, 34 yards, less than 6 yards a target. You're not the worst off. You're not the worst off at all. So he held his own. And those are the cornerbacks. Again, it's Kobe Bryant getting beat for the 67-yarder. And everybody else, you have to say, except for maybe Woolen with the penalties, and some people were arguing that the penalties on Woolen were, well, one of them was garbage. I personally didn't feel that way, really, but I understand it. And even Justin Coleman, who I was really afraid of because it really looked like he didn't have any gas left in the tank in the preseason. Again, you get targeted 6 times and you allow 34 yards in coverage, you are doing perfectly fine. So, cornerbacks did good. Let's move over to the safeties because this is fascinating to me. So first, Jamal got targeted twice, incomplete both times. So those are the only 2 times he's going to get targeted this year, it looks like. Although Pete won't yet commit to declaring him out for the year. It would be shocking if he wasn't. So 2 targets, 0 completions. Quandre Diggs targeted 3 times, 2 completions, 8 yards. And Josh Jones, 5 targets, 3 completions, 11 yards. You don't see that often. They're safeties. They're playing down the field theoretically, right? How are they giving up completions for such short gains? Like last year, I remember when I was doing this, Quandre Diggs, he didn't give up a lot of completions. The ones he gave up were typically deeper down the field because that's where Quandre Diggs usually is in coverage, right? He's the free safety. So, very interesting here. Quandre Diggs gave up 2 completions for an average of 4 yards each. And Josh Jones, granted a strong safety, but still a safety, 3 completions for less than 4 yards a pop. I don't know if we're going to see that again this year, but it's kind of interesting. And more than interesting, it's good. Your safeties got targeted a grand total of 10 times in this game and gave up 19 yards. Less than 2 yards a target. That's super strong. So they all held their own in coverage. Obviously, Quandre had the drop pick. Jamal had the drop pick. You don't like that. But you're not the worst off here. In fact, you're probably doing very well for yourself if your safeties get targeted 10 times and surrender a grand total of 19 yards in coverage. Very interesting coverage stat line for these guys that you probably won't see again. But anyway, that's your pass coverage Thursday. It's very stark, right? The linebackers got roasted. Kobe got roasted on 1 play. And everyone else, I gotta say, they played fine. They did their job. They gave up a limited number of yards. Even when they gave up stuff, they were forcing the Broncos to be relatively inefficient in their targets. Like, if you're targeting a cornerback 3 times in a game and averaging 6 yards per target, that's not really what you're looking for as an NFL offense. That's typically not good enough. All right. I'll see you guys later. We'll have more stuff to talk about, but pass coverage Thursday, part 1 is done. Let me know what you think. See you guys later.